All right, so we're just going to be having a simple class, class person. It's just going to help us to know whether we want to print out to the console or not if a person is walking. And it's just a base class that we could use later on to extend. We're going to have a required example and just example using Coffee Stir to see how it could benefit your projects. Class woman is also going to be a simple class, just going to extend person so we could get some capabilities of person. And then we're just going to overwrite the walk method so that, we could tell that we extend the class and whatnot. All right, so the main file is just going to be the file that we run, and it's going to be the file that includes all the other files. Once again, we're creating one for the required version using the regular way for handling dependencies. And another way we're going to be using our coffee stir. So with coffee stir, we just have to type include and then the file name. Um, you also have to make sure to put the coffee file extension on the file. Here I'm just getting coffee stir and coffee script ready to just generate the files for me, so I could just automatically have them generate. And I'll leave the link in the description below of how you actually set it up. But pretty much all we have to do is we say include our file woman, and we're going to actually get that file right away. All right, so now we're going to run this file and we're going to see what happens here. And as you could see, it complains because it doesn't know what person is. Um, so if we go into woman and we include person, and now we could try running it again. And everything is working fine. And once again, for the other one, person is not defined, so we have to define person as well. So again, in order to get this to work, we're going to have to require person for the woman class so that it can extend it. I'm just going to add in the name just so that we could see exactly who is walking, like a runway model. All right, so I had a stupid error. I needed to make it capitalized there, so capitalize it. All right, so down here, you just have to export the woman class so that the required function can actually use it. And the very same thing with person, we also have to export it as well. And as you can see, we now have the result that we need. Right? So if you look at both of the classes and how they have to be structured in order to get it to work, you could see how Coffee Stir, really just makes it very, very simple. Now, the next test is what if we want to test if woman is the instance of person, right? We already have women included, which will include person as well, right? All right, so we're gonna test the coffee stir example, and you could see it's working fine. It is an instance of person, so everything works out. And as we tested here, we see that it's unaware of what person is. So we have to require person as well, even though we've already required it inside the women's class. So here we go, we require person now. And as you can see, we have everything up and running. But if you compare those two codes and see, what you have to do in order to get it to work, you start to see the benefit of how CoffeeStir adds the dependency to the to your script. Now, both of these code samples are pretty simple code. It doesn't really do much. But let's say for some reason you had some code that you wanted to run it in the browser and you also want to run it on the server. Like there's some commonality between them. Let's say it's your own personal class that handles something. And so you open it up and you try to run it in a browser. This one is the CoffeeStir example. Keep in mind that this is already packaged up into one nice application, so you just have one file that you need to include. And when you're just using the required version, it's not packaged together, so you still have to go and actually include all the other files or use some sort of minification to group them together and whatnot. Which isn't a big deal per se, but it's just another thing that you have to do. So let's open this up and run it. And we're just going to rename our required version here. All right, so that's settled. Now, if we look at the coffee stir example, let's just open up the console. Since we didn't do anything fancy, we pop open the console and we see it works fine. Everything is good to go. We open up the required console and we see that required is not defined. So first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to solve that problem. There is a plugin called required.js, but it then requires some more setup in order to get that to work. So here what we're going to do, we're just going to check if we're in the node environment, and if we aren't in the node environment, then we're not going to require those files. We're just going to include them using the HTML tags at the top of the page. As you can see, we're still having some problems using our file. We have to add them to the rest of the page. All right, so now that we have them to the rest of the page, we see that, our exports that we have, they're not defined, so we got to go and solve that problem again. All right, this is more of a problem with CoffeeScript, but it's not really a problem. But basically, this class is going to be executed in its own scope. So we just gotta send it out to the window so that the if we attach it to the window, we'll be able to use it later on. All right, so the problem here was that we had person attached to the window object, um, but it's not globally known, so that's why it wasn't working there. But if we were to type window.person, we would be able to gain access to it. Right, so now we have women being defined, but in our other code, where we check the instance off, it's going to create a problem for that. So since we don't want to have to keep using the window as a keyword, we're just going to do it this way. We're going to store it back, create a new variable of it so it can use it. Now let's boot up back our HTML code. Let's test this again. Again, here person is undefined. We have to, in both files, set it back to define it as something. In both files we have to redefine it so that we can use them again. This is not a problem with required. This is more of a CoffeeScript problem. But again, if you're if you're using a lot of CoffeeScript, you're using required. It will definitely benefit you. But even with plain JavaScript, some of these problems will still occur, and you kind of have to go around them. All right, so now that we have both of those files, we run it again, and we could see that it's working fine here. Just delete some of these console logs. Refresh it, and we see Michelle is walking fine and Sarah is able to walk fine. Now, if you compare both of these and how you have to kind of go about creating them, it gives you a sense of how CoffeeStir can really help you just include your files really really quickly. Everything's going to work. Compared to if you were to do this in just regular Node, trying to get it to work between the browser and CoffeeStir, between the browser and the server. So I'd like to thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to follow us on Twitter, send us a message, and we'll respond to you then. Thank you.